For over 20 years, this was the baseline reality on the Illinois River, a waterway completely overrun by aggressive, airborne Asian carp. Then the water went quiet. Survey teams began pulling up fewer fish in their nets, and commercial catches began a steady, year-over-year decline. Biologists initially looked for standard explanations, like shifting water temperatures, changes in spawning grounds, or increased fishing pressure. But none of those variables accounted for how quickly the population was thinning out. The first signs of a physical cause appeared as scattered carcasses washing up in the shallows. Most appeared healthy on the outside, with no obvious injuries or signs of known diseases. The sudden disappearance of the river's most dominant invasive species left a vacuum that defied the team's existing population models. When Dr. Harlan's team performed field autopsies on these bighead carp, they found the exterior of the fish to be completely pristine, showing no marks of struggle or external infection. Inside, however, the organs were failing. The researchers found livers riddled with lesions and kidneys that had become swollen and pale. Laboratory tests ruled out chemical contamination in the water and known carp viruses. On paper, the environment looked normal, even as the fish continued to die. Detailed sequencing eventually flagged a genetic sequence that didn't match any pathogen previously documented in the region. These carp had successfully resisted decades of human control efforts. The presence of a new, unidentified sequence suggested that a different type of threat had entered the system. In secluded backwaters where die-offs were concentrated, the team located live specimens. These fish were no longer fighting or jumping. They were just drifting. The carp appeared to have lost their sense of depth. They became sluggish, circling aimlessly near the surface where they could be easily spotted. This behavioral change drew in smaller native fish species, which fed aggressively on the weakened carp before they had even died. Microscopic analysis of the muscle tissue revealed the presence of tiny cysts. These were not random artifacts of decay, but a deliberate invasion of the tissue. The pathogen appears to compromise the carp's nervous system, effectively removing their ability to evade predators and accelerating their removal from the ecosystem. The organism was identified as a myxozoan parasite. Unlike bacteria, these parasites have a complex life cycle, relying on movement between different species. This diagram shows the parasite targeting the central nervous system, inducing sluggish drifting. Scavenging native fish ingest these cysts, becoming intermediate vectors. They release spores through waste, which settle into silt to infect the next generation. Utilizing native scavengers, the parasite turned the natural food web into a self-sustaining cycle of infection. The affected zones have expanded beyond the Illinois River, with similar die-offs now confirmed across 50 miles of the Mississippi and sections of the Ohio River. Genetic markers suggest this parasite originated in Asian aquaculture facilities. It likely arrived as a stowaway decades ago, hidden within the very fish it is now killing. While millions of dollars were spent on massive electrical barriers to stop the carp, this microscopic threat was already moving through the system, adapting to the local environment in the background. Control efforts have shifted toward biosecurity, with new disinfection stations and sediment protocols designed to slow the movement of these spores between different river basins. The collapse of the carp population wasn't triggered by human engineering, but by a biological adaptation that had been present in the river silt for years. Recent tests show the myxozoan parasite is now appearing at low levels within several native fish species. While the parasite is currently removing an invasive species, its presence in native populations suggests it is continuing to adapt to new hosts within the river system. These warning signs reflect a new reality for the river. The airborne carp are gone, but they have been replaced by a system where the primary threats are no longer visible to the naked eye. This transition highlights how easily stowaway organisms can remain dormant and undetected until environmental conditions shift in their favor. Significant ecological changes often occur through these small internal adaptations rather than through the large-scale battles we prepare for.